Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles, and welcome to our third series check-in of 2024. This one's not super long, haven't made a lot of progress in a lot of things, but there's still some time in the end of the year, so hopefully I can get to the rest of them at some point in the next few months. We're going to start off with series that are currently in progress, and first is the Houston Skyhawk series by Alexandra Warren. This is available on KU, Black romance. A lot of the books on here are available on KU, so I'll say that a few times. This one is a football romance where we're following Brianna as she returns to her hometown. This is friends to lovers, so they were really good friends in high school, kind of fell out, I think, in college, and then this is the first time that they're seeing each other after all of that time has passed. I really like this first book. It's one of my favorites of the year. I'm really excited to continue the series. So far though, I think there are only 2 books, so that should be pretty easy to do, hopefully. Next is Rhaenyra Revelations by Malcolm J. Sullivan. Robin and I read the first book at the beginning of the year and moved on to book 2 finally. Didn't love this one. It's got a little middle book syndrome, but I'm hoping that the ending of the trilogy is going to be good. This series is essentially just following Royce and Hadrian during various shenanigans. I really don't know how else to explain it, but that I feel is a pretty accurate description. While I didn't love this one, I do think that the third one's gonna be good because it's gonna be a revenge story, and we love that. The plan is to read book 3 in November, so this will definitely be finished before the end of the year. Oh, by the way, this series is on KU. I found that out randomly, but I'm not mad at it. So if you're interested in reading it, you can read it for free if you have KU. Next is Cameron Battle, another buddy read between Robin and I. We read Cameron Battle in the Hidden Kingdoms earlier this year. This is a middle grade fantasy. Cameron has this book of this magical kingdom. However, the kingdom in the book is real and he is the descendant. His parents have passed away, and so the kingdom is in trouble, and it's kind of up to him to save them, which is a lot of pressure for like an 11-year-old, but that's where we're at right now. I believe this is only a duology. So the plan is also to finish this before the end of the year. I think we're gonna read this one in December, so hopefully we enjoy it. To be honest, middle grade is often better than YA. I said what I said, so I think it's gonna be a good one. It ended on such a big cliffhanger that I'm really excited to see how it goes. And lastly, I read the first book in the Noodle Shop Mystery series, which is a cozy series, which I do not have a good track record with. So the first book, Death by Dumpling, also available in KU, was actually pretty good. We're following Lana. Her parents own a noodle shop in a plaza. There are people in the plaza who order lunch from them every day. One day she goes to deliver lunch to someone, and a few hours later they are found dead. So obviously she is accused, her co-workers are accused, and she decides to take matters into her own hands and figure out what really happened. This first book came out in 2018 and it shows. However, this is still an ongoing series, and I think the next release is scheduled for next year. And so I'm hoping that maybe it gets better as it goes. I do definitely want to try the second book. I just don't know if I'm gonna make it to the end, because again, I typically DNF cozies during the first book or right after them, so the fact that I even like this one enough to keep going is a pretty big deal. Next is series that I have caught up on. First is Men of Nirvana by Phoenix Collins. The first book, Stroke of Luck, came out earlier this year. I had an arc, 5 stars, loved it. It's a billionaire romance. I don't really know if you need to know more than that, but it was great. I absolutely loved it. She did already tell us who the couple is going to be in the next one, so I'm really excited about it. Then I also had an arc of A Legend in the Baking. This is the follow-up to Fake It Till You Bake It. I liked this one, just not as much as the first one. I think there was too much going on in this one, but this series overall is about 3 football players who are best friends, and they open up a bakery. I was surprised that I liked the first one, and so I was really excited about the second one, and it did fall a little short for me, but I will read the third one when it comes out. Like I said, I had an arc, so I don't remember the release date, but I'll put it up on the screen for you if you're interested. On to series that I have completed. I only have 2, but you know, it is what it is. First is the Ending Fire trilogy by Sarah El-Arifi. I had an arc of book 3, The Ending Fire. The first book in this series is The Final Strife, and I liked this ending, even though I feel that this book wasn't necessarily as exciting as the first 2. I was able to predict a lot of the twists and turns that were coming, so I mean, it was still good, By the time this video goes up, I believe this book will have come out already, probably earlier this week. So if you enjoyed the Battle Drum, definitely recommend that you continue. The other one is, I think this series is called the Blood Gift Duology. The first book is Blood Trials, which I really liked. I think I rated it 4.5 stars, and I was surprised that I liked it so much. I buddy read the second one with Alana, and other readers have said this as well. It feels like this should have been a trilogy. It feels incomplete. It feels like there are unanswered questions, and I genuinely hope that either, I don't know, she's able to extend it or give us a spin-off or something. But in that first book, The Blood Trials, we're following Ikenna, whose grandfather recently passed away. She's getting ready to graduate from this military academy, and she finds out that her grandfather may not have died by accident. So she's going to use her training to find out what really happened. There's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of politics, there's also a lot of racism, but I think that the story that she created overall was done really well, and I really wish that she had been given the opportunity to clean up the ending a little bit, but it was still a really good story, and I definitely recommend. Lastly, we are on to series that I have DNF, starting with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, am I going to watch this Netflix series? Yes, at some point. However, Pippa is annoying as fuck and she's dumb as shit, and I cannot continue the series because I cannot stand following her. The only reason that I didn't DNF this book is because I genuinely was just curious about who was responsible for the murder, and I was shocked, and that is why I gave it like a 3-star or maybe a 3.25. Literally the ending is completely responsible for that. In this, we're following Pippa Fitz-Amobi as she decides that for her senior project, she wants to solve a murder that happened at her high school 5 years ago. Now, in the first chapter of the book, it literally opens with her professor saying, yes, you can do this on the condition that you don't do X, Y, and Z. What does she do? Immediately, X, Y, and Z. And I was just like, wow, you are gonna be a dumb bitch, aren't you? And that's exactly what I got. We'll still watch the series, will not continue to read the book. Actually, I need somebody to spoil the next 2 books for me because I'm curious, but I'm not reading it. Then we have A Sweet Mess by J.C. Lee. This is a romance about a baker and a food critic. So this food critic comes to the bakery, orders something, but is given the wrong cake. It's literally a specialty cake for like a 6-year-old, so it has some weird ingredients in it. He writes a scathing review that tanks business for her, and he refuses to write another review. He refuses to take it back, and so he decides to help her out in another way. The tricky part is, before all of that happened, they had a one-night stand, not knowing who the other person was. So it's a little complicated, although it really didn't have to be, and I think that was my issue with it. They're working together and they're still attracted to each other, but they're like, no, we can't date, we can't do this. Yet at the same time, they're ready to tear each other's clothes off at dinner with other people. And I'm just like, y'all are adults, fucking act like it, have a conversation and figure it out. So I DNF'd. Lastly, I DNF'd Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I know a lot of people really love this book, and I love that for y'all. I personally hated Alexis, and there was a certain scene in the book where any hope that I had of her growing on me went out the window right off the bat. You know what? I think I might want to do a DNF review for this. Anywho, I didn't like her. I don't like the way she treated Daniel, and after a certain scene, I literally just couldn't root for them anymore, so I had to give it up. I was originally going to buddy read Yours Truly with Shoshana and Robin, but I told them to go ahead and read it without me. I know that it's about a different character and a character that I liked in the first book, so maybe I'll pick it up eventually. I'm gonna wait for them to read it and tell me if it's good enough. Those are all the series that I have started, continued, or completed since my last series review. I think the goal is to do 1 more of these before the end of the year. We'll see if that actually happens, but let me know how you're doing on your series, if you started any that you really liked and definitely want to continue, or if you DNF'd any. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.